We come across many different types of juicers here at eujuicers.com, but this model was really different. This model is a reimagining of a traditional horizontal juicer, and it's like something we've never seen before. The first impression one gets looking at this juicer is it's solid. There's a lot of solid metal parts here. It seems to be well constructed. The auger is kind of unique, a blend of hard plastics and metal. The filter is really different. It's not a juicing screen like we're used to, but instead it's a two-part plastic crown that interlocks. Assembly of this juicer was pretty straightforward. There's a few parts that you have to do to get it all together, but once you get the hang of it, it's no big deal. Now, this compact size does create some compromises. This is one of the smallest juicers we've come across that's compact, and one of the problems is the small and narrow feeding tube. You really have to cut your produce pretty small to get things in there. Another problem was the tricky assembly. There's multiple contact points that need to be engaged to get the motor to work, and we found it sometimes a struggle to get the front contact point engaged. The auger actually runs in the opposite direction that you would expect. It runs toward the machine, and it also runs very fast. We tested this juicer's speed, and it runs at about 300 RPM. That's opposed to about 40 to 60 on most horizontal juicers. Juicing apples was pretty fast and simple. It's similar to a centrifugal juicer. The speed of 300 RPM is somewhere in between what you would see with a high-speed juicer and a slow-speed juicer. So we wouldn't really call this a true slow-speed juicer. And you'll notice as we juice here, there's more foam than you'd see in a normal horizontal auger-driven juicer. That being said, juicing apples was fast and simple. It was quite easy to do, and you'll notice the juice quality was okay. But after some time it began to separate, and there definitely was a lot more foam than you would find on a normal slow juicer. The pulp was a little more wet than usual as well. Again, this is probably due to the high speed that it's operating. Carrots presented a different kind of challenge. First of all, you had to make sure the carrots were small enough in diameter to fit the narrow feeding tube. But more troublesome was the auger itself and the design of this juicer. We found that pushing the carrots in took a lot of force, similar to a twin gear, like the Angel juicer. Worse yet, the pusher tube design has an open top with a raised rim. That means when you apply the force to it, it pushes up against the palm of your hand, and it can cause some discomfort after a while. We solved this by putting a paper towel or a small cloth over the top to cushion it. Carrots juiced fairly well, but they did start backing up towards the end. The juice itself was fine, perhaps a bit pulpier than normally we'd come to expect from horizontal juicers, but this could be due to the fact that it was backing up or due to the fact that it's running at a relatively high speed. Disassembly of the juicer is fairly straightforward. There's only a few parts, and they're easily cleaned under running water. The lack of a traditional metal juicing screen does make for easy cleaning. The two-part crown separates, you run it under running water, and it cleans very rapidly. After some use with this unit, we did notice some problems cropping up. For example, the plastic juicing screen was fragile. We noticed some pins beginning to bend. Also with the juice, it was more watery and foamy than we're used to. And with carrots, the pulp was so wet that it started to impact into the juicer itself, forcing us to stop and clean it out. Overall, we had mixed feelings about this juicer. What we liked was the design and the compact size. It feels good and it looks great on the counter. It's also easy to use and juices really fast, and cleanup was quite simple. On the other side, the feeding tube was a lot smaller than we're used to, requiring us to cut up our produce and fruit into much smaller pieces. The pusher was uncomfortable and could definitely be redesigned in a better way. The juice itself was a little more watery and foamy than we're used to, and the high speed made us sort of question whether it really is a slow juicer or not. Finally, we did try juicing some leafy greens, some spinach leaves, but it's definitely not suitable for that as we extracted almost no juice for that. So overall, a mixed bag for this juicer. 3 stars out of 5.